There's always something happening in Nigeria. A movement, a slogan, a campaign, something that people rally behind. And recently, something caught my attention: the city boy movement. Now, on the surface, it looks like support for leadership, support for continuity. But the more I watched it, the more I started asking myself questions. Because I kept thinking, if you are close to power, close enough to influence it, what exactly do you do with that access? Do you use it to help people, or do you use it to protect the system that benefits you? Hi, my name is Grace, and this is Naija Through My Eyes, where we don't just react to what is happening, we try to understand it. So let's talk about it. We are seeing a movement, young, energetic, visible, linked to people that are close to power, and also supported by influential figures in our community. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, this is not just politics. This is influence. This is access. This is power moving quietly through relationships. Because when wealthy, connected, and visible people align themselves with political power, it's not just for vibes. There is always something deeper. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, who doesn't like to be close to the creme de la creme? Who doesn't want to be known by the people of status? Everybody wants that. I'm sure somewhere deep in their minds, when you scroll on Instagram, you say, I wish I was in that circle. So I'm not even saying it's wrong. But I think it's something we should talk about honestly. Because in Nigeria, one thing I have noticed is that we don't always question power. We adjust to it. And this adjustment has become a pattern. Also, a tool that these politicians capitalize on. They see that we're able to adjust even when it's not beneficial to us, even when it's not helping us in our day-to-day lives. We might come, rant on Instagram for a day or two, and then something else will just, something else will take up the topic. Something viral goes on Instagram and everybody forgets about how or what was done that was detrimental, even though people live day to day on the effect of these things. So, a question that keeps coming to me, and this is where my biggest question starts, especially to the persons that are close to power. I mean, if you are close to power, why not speak truth to it? If you can sit in the same room with the people that yield power, especially in Nigerian politics, in the Nigerian country, in the communities, if you can sit close to these people that make policies that affects the everyday Nigerian, that affects all Nigerians, if you can have conversations with these politicians that the average Nigerian may never get to have. I mean, it's not every day One has access to maybe the office of, I don't know, some politician, the Senate president, the governor of the state, even your local government chairman, your House of Representative. It's not on an everyday basis that one could easily access the people that hold such positions. But if you, close to power, can have communications with them, can talk with them, why not communicate the reality of what people are going through? Why not bring truth to power? I mean, maybe we can say, oh, the people in power, maybe they don't know what is happening, or they're living in some bubble, even if we know that they know that everything is not well. Because let's be honest, Nigerians are not quiet. It's not like we are suffering and smiling. No, Nigerians have been outspoken about what they are going through, the realities, the harsh realities they've had to face, the everyday struggles, the everyday trying to survive. You know, people are struggling and they are speaking about their struggles. Nigerians' inflation has been hovering around 30%. World Bank stated that inflation was at 33% in 2024. That's just barely 2 years ago. Even the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And food inflation is even worse, because basic things like even bread, water, rice, food to eat, egg, it's like the poverty line, more people are falling into or below the poverty line every day, every week. And unemployment, depending on how you see it, there is unemployment in Nigeria. Even according to Afrobarometer, we have 37% unemployment, and 30% was cited by global data. So when I see people who are close to power, I'm not even expecting miracles. I mean, I know you're not a miracle worker. I'm not expecting you to move mountains, but I'm asking, are you saying anything at all to these people? Are you letting the people in power know the situation of people on ground? Are you pushing anything? Are you representing the people at all? Because access without impact is just proximity. And although it's not necessarily your job to do so, but it's an expectation. One thing I keep also asking myself, which I feel is necessary, it might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because one thing I've come to understand is poverty in Nigeria is not just a problem. That is one thing I have noticed. Poverty in Nigeria has become a tool. Because, come on, think about it. When people are struggling to survive, I mean, struggling day to day, things keep changing that brings no more comfort than they were yesterday. When people don't have stable income, there is no reliable health care. You have to pray not to fall sick, because then that is even eating money from your pocket that you don't even have. And there's not even guarantee that you get reliable health care depending on your access. No quality education. Then the big lack of security. What happens? People become easier to influence when there is lack of these things, when there are struggling, barely making ends meet. Not because they are foolish, no. Not because they are stupid, no either. Not because they are greedy, no. But just because they are trying to survive. So, instead of building systems, we see temporary solutions. Would one really blame them? I'm not sure. Because like I said, they're barely trying to survive. So some cash handouts, a bag of rice here and there, some short-term empowerment, and people accept it because at that moment, at that point in time, it helps. It might be a short-term help, but it still helps. So here's the question I'm asking. If the system actually worked, would people need to depend on these things? I mean, why can't we weaponize wealth? Why can't we weaponize good roads? Why can't we weaponize security? Why can't we weaponize basic health care? Why can't we weaponize affordable quality education? Why can't we weaponize functional hospitals? I mean, if you do this, I don't think you would necessarily need to campaign, to run several campaign programs for you to come to power the second round. And people, wouldn't they naturally support a leadership that is actually working? I think about it, the amount of resources, the amount of time, money used to campaign for a government that is not working could as well be channeled to making the lives of Nigerians better. The money, the painted cars, the different slogans that we keep doing. Can't we channel it into doing good roads? Can't we channel it into equipping hospitals, government hospitals? Can't we channel it into healthcare, affordable healthcare, proper healthcare? Can't we channel it into quality education? I mean, if we put all this together, you won't need to campaign. It will be so glaring what you are doing in the lives of Nigerians. You won't need to bribe anyone with rice. You won't need to buy yams for people, because everyone would be so happy to vote for you because they would like to see the continuity of progress. But when we keep taking all this and channeling it into, getting influencers or affluent persons in the community to come and campaign, I don't feel it makes any sense to do that. Instead of channeling it into things that people actually need, the things that would affect all Nigerians positively, that will bring positive impact, the things that would help the lives of the average Nigerian better, the things that when they see it and when they feel it, they're able to even tell the next person, oh, we will vote for this person. We would vote for that person. Because why? The workings are showing. We have a saying, show me your workings. So why not show workings instead of showing workings for going about doing campaigns? Why not show workings by actual workings, putting infrastructure? Because guess what? Nigerians don't actually ask for too much. They're not asking for luxury. they're asking for the basics: stable electricity, security, good roads, functional hospitals, quality healthcare, affordable quality education. And somehow, all this that are considered basics feels like something too big to ask. That is so mind boggling to me, that we would rather spend our time on campaign than actually change people's lives, than actually do our jobs, than actually put infrastructures and measures in place that improves the life of the average Nigerians. And sometimes I ask myself, even with the situation of things, why do people still support? So, after everything, the movement, the visibility, the access, I keep coming back to a question. If you are close to power and nothing really changes, then what is that proximity really doing? Because influence is not just about being seen. It's about what changes because of you. And right now, for a whole lot of Nigerians, not much is changing. People are crying every day. People are getting killed unnecessarily. It's very hard to afford the basic needs for the average Nigerian. Everything just keeps getting expensive, even down to food. Some people who could afford 3 square meal can barely afford one now. And people are just adjusting, not progressing, not living, just surviving. And for me, that is why this conversation matters. Because it forces us to look beyond the surface, beyond the slogans, beyond the city boy movement, beyond the relax, he's doing the work, beyond the renewed hope, beyond the expect more. We should ask ourselves, what is actually improving? Because here's where it gets complicated. Because it is easy to question people that are close to power, maybe relatives of people wielding power, people close to power, close acquaintances of people in power. It is easy to say they should speak, they should act, they should do more. But power doesn't exist on its own. It survives because people support it. And that leads to a harder question. Why do people who are struggling, who don't know where their next meal is coming from, who barely have a roof over their head, who can't afford proper health care if should a medical emergency arise, who don't have good roads in their communities, in their states, and wherever they are, who don't even have proper housing, who don't have stable electricity, who cannot afford quality education, why do these people still defend the system? Is it loyalty? Is it hope? Or is it survival? Because maybe this is not just about power. Maybe it's about what people feel they need to do, what they feel they need to be to survive. And that is what we'll be getting into in the next episode. Not just people at the top, but the people living it every day. But before we go, I want to hear from you. When you see movements like this, the City Boy movement, the renewed hope, the relax, the expect more, when you see movement like this, what do you see? Do you see loyalty? Do you see survival? Just let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about all this, especially with the situation of Nigeria today? Thank you for listening to Naija Through My Eyes, where we don't just talk, we think. And I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, bye.